Question: what is the worst kept secret in video game news right now? Answer: the Nintendo Switch Mini. We all know this damn thing is coming. It's probably coming at the end of the summer to coincide with Nintendo's big releases for the month of September. Of course, something like Link's Awakening would go perfect with a Nintendo Switch Mini, and then you have Pokemon, Animal Crossing coming out. There are a lot of Switch games that would definitely benefit from having a cheaper Nintendo SKU on the marketplace when it comes to the Nintendo Switch. The 3DS is dead. There are no more games coming from it from Nintendo, so let's just go ahead and move on to the Nintendo Switch Mini. Now, we've seen different things like renders and different products come out for the Nintendo Switch Mini, but we didn't really know anything about the system itself. We didn't know the specs of this system. Now, if you would have asked me, I don't know, a day or so ago, what sort of specs the Nintendo Switch Mini would have, I would say, well, it would probably be the exact same as the current Nintendo Switch model on the marketplace, but it just wouldn't have detachable Joy-Cons. There may be some features missing, like HD Rumble, in order to keep the price down. But what if I were to tell you that the Nintendo Switch Mini could actually exceed what the current Nintendo Switch model on the marketplace is? Actually be better in terms of tech than the one we have on the marketplace. I would have said that's absolutely crazy, but an article popped up on Forbes today that has me second guessing everything about the Nintendo Switch Mini now. So what is this article all about? What does it say? And is the Nintendo Switch Mini actually going to be better than the current Nintendo Switch model on the market? That's what we're going to figure out in this video. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about the Nintendo Switch Mini and why it may end up being better than the current Nintendo Switch.
Hey, RGT85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So like I said, an article popped up today on Forbes' website talking about Google Stadia needs the new Nintendo Switch. Now this is coming to us from a contributor named Jim McGregor. Now first and foremost, when I saw a contributor and not an actual site writer, I thought, well, maybe this is just some guy's sort of speculation, especially if he's talking about Nintendo Switch specs for the Nintendo Switch Mini, which is something we haven't heard from anyone else. But then I actually read his biography on the site, and then I was kind of like, oh, well, maybe this guy does know his shit. So looking at his biography on the site, you can see that Jim is a principal analyst and partner at Tereos Research, a high-tech research and advisory firm consisting of experienced analysts. Jim has over 30 years of technical and business experience with leading high-tech companies including Intel, Motorola, so on and so forth. So Jim obviously knows his stuff. If he's been around for 30 years, he's probably heard some crazy things before. Now, upon first glance at this article, you can see that he's basically talking about how Google Stadia would benefit by being on the Nintendo Switch. And once you start to talk about reasons why, of course you have things like the fact that Nintendo Switch owners sometimes get downgraded ports, especially when it comes to bigger third-party games. There are a lot of third-party games that developers don't bother putting on the Nintendo Switch because of the size and the scope of these games. But if you have a streaming service on the Nintendo Switch, well, these games would obviously work. Now, that's really a video for a whole nother topic. Maybe we'll get into that topic one day. But what's really interesting is when he talks about the Nintendo Switch Mini in this article, because he's giving information that nobody else has heard before, including myself, including you guys. And that's where things get very, very interesting. So Jim goes on to say the following about the new Nintendo Switch Mini. The new Mini Nintendo Switch will take advantage of 2 generations of die shrinks to the NVIDIA Tegra processor to deliver 1080p mobile gaming to a broader audience. By joining the Joy-Cons to the main body of the Switch, Nintendo will squeeze out the expensive and sophisticated wireless Joy-Cons and create a mobile-first Switch platform. The die shrink of the NVIDIA Tegra processor will provide better battery life and a meaningful upgrade to a 1080p display and in graphics in its mobile mode. The new Nintendo Switch Mini and upgraded standard Nintendo Switch are poised to address a broader market and capitalize on their growing software and user base. But there is another opportunity for the Switch which has not yet come to light. And of course, that other opportunity that he goes on to talk about is Google Stadia. But honestly, I don't care about Google Stadia. I've been very vocal about Google Stadia. It just doesn't interest me. Streaming games and having to pay a monthly subscription service to get the best streaming quality and still having to pay full price for these games, like, what's the point? I would rather buy the game on the PS4, the Xbox One, the PS5, the Xbox One 2, and then actually own the game. And if I get tired of the game, I can just sell it off. But who cares about that? Because he's giving spec information here about the NVIDIA Tegra. Now, of course, the NVIDIA Tegra has advanced since the Nintendo Switch came out. And you've seen a lot of stuff going on with NVIDIA themselves right now, talking about their ramping up production for their Tegra stuff because of a potential thing that's going on. And many people are expecting that to be related to this Nintendo Switch Mini. But what's very interesting here is he's talking about a a 1080p screen in handheld mode, which is how this system will be primarily used. Now, we do not know anything if this system will be compatible with Nintendo Switch docks. Obviously, if you can't take the Joy-Cons out of the system, which is an expensive component of the system, Joy-Cons are like $80 to get a pair of 2 of them, you're going to have a tougher time putting this on a dock. So will this be able to be docked whatsoever? I don't know. I would expect there to be a way to dock it, and then you can use external controllers on the system. You just wouldn't be able to use the standard Joy-Cons that come with the system, since it will be undetachable. But the 1080p screen, that's better than the current Nintendo Switch model that's on the market. So I'm not saying that 720p screen is bad. It looks great on a lot of games, but a lot of games actually don't run at 720p in handheld mode. Games like Doom and Wolfenstein, those were games that were running very, very low until recent updates came for those games and increased the visual fidelity of those games. And now those games look great, but still, you do get sort of almost PSP style resolutions. But still though, you get almost PS Vita style resolutions from time to time on bigger third-party games because of the technical limits of the system. But if this system is able to do 1080p in handheld mode, like, that's a huge freaking deal. There are Nintendo Switch games that don't even run 1080p in docked mode, but if you're able to achieve that in handheld mode, that's huge. And this is the only person that's actually talking about this. So that's what makes this story so fascinating to me. Obviously, when you look at things like Labo VR, one of the reasons why Labo VR kind of doesn't work is because of the screen resolution of the Nintendo Switch. When you take games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild that does not run at 720p on the Nintendo Switch in handheld mode, and then you have to split that in half to whatever the resolution is as to half in order to make it work on your Nintendo Switch's Labo VR, it just doesn't look all that good. But when you look at something like Smash Brothers, which does run at 720p, it looks a hell of a lot better in Labo VR when you're looking around the levels and things like that. But that's just absolutely crazy to me, if that the Nintendo Switch Mini could be producing at 1080p in handheld mode. Now, what's really crazy about all this is, of course, the Nintendo Switch Mini isn't the only system that Nintendo is tinkering with right now. According to the Wall Street Journal, there are 2 Nintendo Switch models coming out, a Nintendo Switch Mini and a Nintendo Switch Pro. And the Nintendo Switch Pro is supposed to be the more potent system, the system that has more kick to it, the system that has more oomph to it. And really, with the advancements of the NVIDIA Tegra engine, which is what is going to be used in all these Switch models, it kind of makes sense that things would get better. And that's where things can be absolutely crazy, because if the Nintendo Switch Mini is better than the standard one we have on the market, you're not going to release a Nintendo Switch Pro that's essentially a Nintendo Switch Mini with detachable Joy-Cons again, because that makes absolutely no sense. You're obviously going to be better than what is going to be available in the Switch Mini. So how good can the Switch Pro be? Can the Switch Pro maybe hit 1080p, 60 frames per second across the board? Can this be something comparable to what we've seen in a baseline PS4 or an Xbox One? A lot of people did not think that was possible. And honestly, I'm kind of one of those people that maybe thought, the Switch Pro is going to be an improvement over the standard model that we have on the market, but it'll be something similar to what we've seen with the PS4 to the PS4 Pro. An incremental upgrade. Now, really, when you look at the Xbox One, the baseline Xbox One to the Xbox One X, that is a huge leap. A lot of third-party games ran pretty poorly on the Xbox One base model, but once you incorporate the Xbox One X and all that additional power, the games ran a hell of a lot better, and that's really on games across the board. It's the best way to play third-party games on the Xbox One X. So could we see a jump in that size, looking at the baseline Xbox One to the Xbox One X, instead of looking at something like the PS4 to the PS4 Pro? Because I really feel like the biggest leap we saw in a current console generation refresh was the Xbox One to the Xbox One X. So I don't know. This is absolutely nuts to me. The fact that the Nintendo Switch Mini is allegedly, according to Jim, going to have a 1080p screen out of the gate is really a big deal to me, because it really shows that maybe the Nintendo Switch Pro is going to be a hell of a lot more powerful than we thought. If the Nintendo Switch Mini comes out with a 1080p screen, it's going to sell like absolute hotcakes if it's available at like $200, because all your games are going to potentially look better on this. Of course, companies can always do updates and patches to make these games that are currently available on the market look better. We saw that with things like the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, where companies would go back, improve the game, and if you had these more powerful systems, you could utilize that extra power in these games. It's just very exciting to me. If this guy is right, and I feel like he might be, if you've been around for 30 years in the expertise model of analysts and technology, you should know a thing or two about what you're talking about. This could potentially be a very huge deal, and the Nintendo Switch Mini just got a lot more attractive to me. I was obviously going to buy one and review it for you guys when it came out, because that's kind of what I do on this channel, but now I'm actually like excited for it. Now I actually want to see this system. Is it going to have a 1080p screen? If It looks like it might. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think of all this. Do you think the Nintendo Switch Mini is going to be more powerful than the baseline Nintendo Switch? And if so, what sort of games do you think will actually utilize that extra horsepower? And then, of course, what do you think about the Nintendo Switch Pro model that's also been rumored? How much better can it be than the baseline Nintendo Switch? Because it seems like there's going to be quite a jump. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. I will have a link to the Forbes article in the description box down below if you want to read over that stuff and see how he feels that Google Stadia would benefit from being on the Nintendo Switch. He's probably kind of right, but still, I'm just not big on streaming. Just give me the games so I can own them physically and trade them if I don't like them. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. I know it's been a little while since I've done a news video. Obviously, this week was my birthday week, so I took it a bit easy. I did a bunch of family stuff, had a really good time. Thank you guys for all the birthday wishes on Facebook and on Twitter. I sincerely appreciate them. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.